All right, thank you, Tony. Again, this is Anthony McCullum. I am the Client Success Specialist here with MobileSmith. And to reiterate, today we'll be going over REST services and how to implement it into your mobile app project in the MobileSmith platform. So starting off, you of course want to make sure that you have all of your data and all of your REST URLs squared away. We do have documentation that explains, how the data should be structured and how the calls should be structured. Right now, our platform only accepts responses from JSON, so you want to make sure that you have everything sending out through JSON. And the documentation for this can be found on our knowledge base, which is at support.mobilesmith.com. All right, so once we have all of our things on the server side set up, now we're going to go into the platform and actually start pulling in the data into your app project. So you see that I already have a app project created. It's titled REST Example. And we're going to go ahead and create a new app block. And you'll see we have this app block here titled Component REST. So we'll go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to give this an item name of employees. And so I'm actually going to be building out a basically a list of MobileSmith employees. So we've built out a bunch of different REST URLs that will pull in like our departments and our list of employees. And basically I want to go through how you can set up these different list and detail views. So once you create your Component REST app block, it'll bring you to this page here. You'll see that normally if you're building such Flex app block, you would see your list view and your detail view as well as your empty list view down here at the bottom. But with the Component REST, it allows you to build out the app block however you'd like. So you're not restricted to following the flow of list to detail, but if you wanted to, you could do list to list to list and then to detail. So the Component REST app block is extremely flexible with however you want to design your app block. So starting off, we want to build out a list of departments. So the first thing we're going to do is click on the Add button with Let's Add a Page. And it is going to open up this wizard. The first option here is going to ask you to choose a page layout. So this is where you're going to say, okay, I want to build out a list or a detail view or an input view. So these canvas views are the same as you would see in the Flex app block. So we're going to click on List, and then we're going to click on Continue. On the next page, it's going to ask you for a page name and a display name. So the page name is what you'll see in the platform to identify this particular view. So we're going to call this List Departments. And this is what I'll see in the platform. And then the display name is what the users will see in the actual app in their navigation bar. So we're going to call this Departments. All right, and then we're going to click on Save and Continue. On this next, the next step in the wizard is the REST service URL. So this is where we're actually going to place in that URL that we're going to retrieve the data from and make the call to. So I have a text document here where I've listed out all of the REST URLs that we'll be using for this demonstration. The first one here is our departments URL. So I'm going to copy that and place it into the text box here. Once you place that in, we're going to click on Check for Variables. And then you'll see that we have no variables have been found. The next option is going to ask, would you like to include custom headers? So this is something that will be set up on your side, on your server. If you do have custom headers, you can enable that option. And then you can also allow users to delete items from your server as well. We're going to go ahead and click on Send. And below, you'll see we have this 200 message that says the request has succeeded. So if it has succeeded, you'll get the green number there, and it'll actually list out the data that's being pulled in from that URL. So you'll see that we have a list of departments with their name, development, management, and also shows the ID as well as a photo that we've placed on this server. So one thing to note, for this particular URL, the request type is a is a Git. So if you look on the right-hand side, we have this help panel. So the help panel will give you information on each step in the wizard. So here it describes the different types of request types that we can do with our Component REST AppBlock. So you see we have the Git request type, where you're just pulling in data. We have the put request type. So this would be used if you wanted to update a record in your data on your server. The next option is post. So this post request type will allow you to update records on your server. And then it also walks through the different options with custom headers, deleting data from your server, and the last one mentions form fields. All right, so once we have everything set up here, we make sure that the call has succeeded. We're going to go ahead and click on Save and Continue. The next step in the wizard process will say select a parent node. So this is just asking you sort of what's the root folder that contains the data that you want to be pulled in. So you see here we only have one root folder. Normally the wizard will sort of choose the best option by default. But if you have a multitude of folders and let's say for example the wizard did choose the wrong folder, you do have the option to select a different root folder to make sure you're pulling in the data that you need for this particular list or detail or input. So once we have verified everything on select parent node, we're going to go ahead and click on Save and Continue. And this brings us to our data mapping step. So the data mapping step is the exact same as you'd see in the data mapping in the Flex AppBlock. It does have a different look to it, but the choosing of field types is the same. It's the same concept. So you see here the different data fields that are being pulled in from the URL. We have ID, photo, and we have name. Under field type, you see it defaults to do not use, and then you're going to select the field type for the ones that you want to use. So we're going to want to use the name and the photo. So for the photo field type, I'm going to choose image. And for the name field type, I'm going to choose short text. You do have the option of adding a new field. So if for some reason this wizard did not pull in all the fields that you would like to use and it's missing a certain field, you can add a new field as long as you know the path to that data field on your server. So with that, we're going to go ahead and click on Save and Continue. The next step here talks about the available features that you can use in the Component REST AppBlock. And features are your tap to map, your tap to email, your tap to phone, your add to calendar, sharing, pagination, and fast fields. So these features are sort of the actions that were used in the Flex AppBlock. So this is just this is just asking you, do you want to enable these features? So you'll notice here in the availability column, it tells you which view these features are supported in. So you'll see that these first few here are detail only. So these features can only be used when you're building out a detail page. Since we're building out a list view, we do have the option of enabling pagination, which basically means you can limit the amount of data that's going to be pulled in on the first call. So if you want to limit to, let's say you have 100 entries of data, you want to limit it to 10 at a time, you can set up or enable pagination to do that. Now this is something that you will have to ensure that your server is set up to do, and if it is, then we can enable that in the platform. And the last option here for input is our fast fill feature, where we're using our platform is integrated with Jumio. And if you're interested in using that, you can head over to support.mobilesmith.com and get more information on using Jumio in our platform. So for this particular list view, we're going to click on No Thanks for the pagination, and we're going to click on Save and Continue. This final step is just a review, so it's saying, you've gone through these steps, and it's giving you a check to say you've completed everything that's necessary. And now we can click on Finish. So once you click finish, it's going to bring you back to your app canvas view. And so from here, it's the same, it's the same process that you're used to when you're building out your Flex app block. You're going to drag and drop all of your content, all of your content fields, and then add in any labels or images that you want. I'm going to head over to the toolbox, and under My Content, we'll see the fields that got pulled in from the URL. So we have that text field for name. We're going to drag and drop that over, and you'll see that our department names have been pulled in. And then we're going to go to Images and drop in the photo. All right, and there's the photo that's been pulled in. And so, of course, you can still do your generic tools. So if you want to add in an extra text label or a nice background image for this list, you can do that. And then as well as the actions options. So if you want to add an item, refresh the list, and if you want to use the More Options tool, that's all there for you, the same as it was with the Flex app block. Okay, so once we've built out this first list for departments, now we're going to want to build out a list that links back to departments. So we'll do another list, and I'll go through this pretty quickly here. This is going to be a list of employees. Okay, and for this one, I'm going to drag and drop, or I'm sorry, copy and paste in the URL that we're going to use for getting a list of employees that pertain to the specific department. You'll see that this one does have a variable in it, which is that ID in the brackets there. So when you do have a variable and you click on check for variables, you'll see this ID text field that pops below. You're going to want to enter just a sample value to say, hey, this is what you should be looking for. So I already have a sample value here. This is a sample ID for one of the departments. We'll place that in, and we're going to go ahead and click on send. You'll see we've got the success message again, and you'll see that it pulled in the data for one of the development employees. So once everything looks good, we can go ahead and click on save and continue. And it's the same process. So it's going to ask you to select the parent node. We're going to leave that on default. And then here we have all the data fields that are being brought in. And again, everything is defaulted to do not use. So we're going to walk through and select the ones that we'd like to use. All right, so once we have those selected, we can go ahead and click on Save and Continue. Again, we're going to say no thanks to pagination, Save and Continue, and then Finish. And again, you'll be brought back to your app canvas where you can edit the list view for employees, just as you did with the list view of departments. So we'll drag and drop our content field here. All right, and again, all the tools are there for generic tools and actions as they were in the Flex app block. And so now what we want to do is actually link this list with the departments list that we just built. So we're going to go back to the list of departments. And once you click on list of departments, we're going to go up in the right-hand corner to the property section. So the way this works is the same way that if you were linking a button from the home canvas to a particular app block. The concept is the same as far as just clicking drop-downs and selecting and pointing where you want things to go. So what we're going to do, where it says app block, we're going to click that drop-down and we're going to click on employees. So what's neat with the Component REST AppBlock is if you have multiple different REST app blocks, you can link a list view from one app block to another list view for another app block. For page, we're going to link this to list of employees. And it's going to ask you what's the ID that it's going to be looking for, and the field is just ID. That's how it's set up in our and the data on our server. And once we have everything linked here, we got the app block, which is titled employees. The page it's going to link to is list of employees, which we created down here in the bottom, the second list view here, list of employees. And the ID is going to be ID. Click done, and now those are linked. So if the user had this app, they'd click development, and it'd take them to the corresponding employees for development. And that's pretty much how you would set up the REST calls for your REST URLs. The concept is the same no matter if you're building out a detail view or input view. You're going to walk through the same wizard, detail view here. You're going to walk through the same wizard. Each step will be the same. And then you can design it however you'd like. So now I'm going to open it up to questions. So if anyone has any questions, you can put it there in the right-hand side in that questions bubble.
So one question that came in was, where can we find the documentation?
Yes, so if you're looking for our REST documentation as far as the infrastructure of how you need to set up your data in your server or just how to put it into the platform, all of that can be found on support.mobilesmith.com. And we have a section that talks about all of the platform updates, and you'll see a REST article there that has PDFs you can download.
Okay, great. One more question came in. Can you use OAuth with REST services?
Great question. So you can use OAuth in conjunction with the component REST block. So if you want to limit or restrict or only allow a user to see certain data, you can combine OAuth and REST to be able to do that. So if I were to log in and I can only see, a certain group of departments, of course all that would have to be set up on your server as far as the IDs and who is restricted to see what, but the potential is all here in the MobileSmith platform.
Great. We'll give it a few more minutes to see if any more questions came in.
One great question that we have here is how to edit the information that you've put in. So say, for example, you want to change the URL for this list of departments. You'll come up here to the blue pencil icon for that particular canvas view. You'll click that, and it'll bring up that wizard, and you can go back and click on each step and change any of the information that you've put in. And then you can do a save and continue or save and quit once you've made those changes. And you can also quit if you just want to cancel and not save any changes as well.
All right, so we don't have any more questions, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Thanks for joining us. Our next webinar will be Wednesday, November 18th. We'll be going over App Submission Part 1, creating account level assets. So we'll discuss the difference between public and private distribution. This is based on the assumption that you already have your developer accounts. So we'll be going over how to create the assets you'll need for the MobileSmith platform for creating apps internally and for public store distribution. Once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us. If you have any ideas on webinars that you'd like to see, go ahead and email that to us. And have a great day.